Hi everyone and welcome back to another card making video. I'm back with my crafty friends from the Lawn Fawn Fans Hop with a fun spring project. A big thank you to our sponsor, which is Lawn Fawn. They are sponsoring a $25 gift card to their shop. To make a chance of winning the prize, all you have to do is hop along with all the videos, leave a comment and say something nice about the project you see in the video. You can find every next video in the description. The winner will be randomly picked and announced on March 26. Well, let's jump right in. Spreek je Nederlands? Er is ondertiteling beschikbaar. As always, I start with coloring my images. I use my Copic markers for that and I put the color number on the left of my paper so you know which color number I use. All of the images I stamped out are from the Beary Rainy Day stamp set. I did so with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink with the use of my Misty so I can stamp multiple times to get a crisp impression. The puddle and all of the splashes are stamped with Memento Summer Sky. If you want more details on any supply I used during the video, be sure to check out the blog post I linked in the description to learn more about that. If you want to skip watching me color, you can skip to the time that pop-ups on the screen now. You can also find the clickable time link in the description. After the coloring, I always like to go over the inner lines with a black fine liner. This brings back some detail that got a bit dull because of the coloring. It's totally optional, but for me it makes a difference. To finish the images, I'm adding highlights with a white gel pen. I die cut the images off screen. I used the Magic Iris camera add-on to cut a camera out of grey cardstock. In the camera pulltab add-on you can find this lens die. I cut 2 rings out of blue cardstock and I keep one of the insides too. I cut a black piece of cardstock to go behind the camera to fill in the black of the lens. I also cut a small piece of blue cardstock to do the same thing for the little light on the camera. In the Into the Woods paper pack you can find this cloud paper that I cut with the bottom half of the camera die. In the pulltab add-on you can also find a photo frame that I cut with white cardstock. I also cut a rectangle that fits behind the frame. With this die found in the Let's Toast pulltab add-on, I cut a piece out of craft paper that I use for the mechanism later on. And here are all the smaller bits and pieces that we will be needing. Everything will be more clear later on. First I'm using the Rainy Sky stencil to blend raindrops on the camera body. I use Memento London Fog for this together with a blending brush so I have more control. I only need to blend the top and the bottom because the other part will be covered with a decorative cloud element. For the next step I'm adding a little dimension to one of the lens rings with Distress Oxide Chip Sapphire. I also do this with the blue button. Now I'm using my steel ruler and a craft knife to cut the decorative cloud piece to size. It's hard to see on camera, but there are embossed lines where there needs to be cut. Next I'm gluing this piece to my camera body. By the way, if you like my videos, you can support my channel by subscribing. It's totally free to do so. If you already are a subscriber, thank you! Now I can also glue the blue piece of cardstock to the back of the camera to fill in the light. Next I can glue on the black button piece and add the blue piece on top. The flash is cut out of some metallic silver paper and I glue that into the right spot. You can see embossed lines where it has to go. Now I can glue the plain blue lens ring in place. On top of this I'm adding the other ring where I did some ink blending on. Now I can glue the black cardstock to the back of the camera to fill in the lens. You could die cut the highlight lines out of white paper, but this time I use the blue lens that I'm left with cutting the rings and pop it in. Now I can use a gel pen to fill in those highlight lines. It needs a little patience to get a solid line. When you're done, carefully take out the circle and let the white lines dry. I'm using this die that you can find in the camera pulltab add-on at the top of my camera so it will cut a slit where the photo can come through. Be sure to only die cut the top of the camera so the rest of the camera won't be smushed. My die moved a little when I die cut it, so I did another cut to make a straight line again. The photo will be covering it anyway. I brush some baby powder right below the slit to make it anti-static for heat embossing. Then I take it over to my MISTI to stamp on the sentiment Make a Splash, which can be found in the Beary Rainy Day stamp set. I stamp it on with clear embossing ink. I do this 2 times to make sure I have a good impression. Next I sprinkle on some white embossing powder and tap off the excess. I brush off the spots of powder that shouldn't be there with a small paintbrush. Next I melt the embossing powder with my preheated heat gun. With the largest die from the large stitched rectangle stackables, I cut a piece of watercolor paper. I'm using the cloudy stencil to blend some clouds at the top of the rectangle. I'm doing this with Distress Oxide speckled egg and a blending brush. I overlap the second cloud for a more dramatic effect. The last clouds will be covered with the camera, but it also adds some color to the second cloud, so I'm blending those on anyway. Since the rest will be covered by the camera, I go around the edges to fake the idea of clouds being there. This die that you can find in the camera pull tab add-on is used to cut the slot for the pull tab. I line the bar up with my paper so the slot will be perfectly in the middle of my rectangle. This die, which is similar to the one that is used for the slit in the camera, but this one is longer, is used for the track for the pull tab mechanism. This piece that I cut earlier can now be inserted in the track. I use the embossed lines as a guide to fold the pieces. Then I feed the piece to the back of the track and fold it open at the front. I put this aside for now and I continue with the photo. Off screen I blended the cloudy sky with the same ink color that I used on the rectangle that fits behind the frame. I glue on the puddle and 2 splashes first. I use the frame next to the rectangle as a guide to see where I want it. Then I snip off the excess before I glue on the frame. Now I can finish off the photo by gluing on the bear and some extra drops. Now back to the mechanism. I flip the background over. This piece I cut earlier with the Let's Toast pull tab add-on is folded as well and adhered right below the slot that is cut in the background after I folded the embossed lines. I use some score tape to adhere it well. When it's in the right spot, I fold the pieces close and adhere that with some score tape as well. Now the pull tab bar is nice and secure. Next I can cut off the excess of the pull tab when the mechanism is all the way down. And last thing to do is adhering the blue pull tab with the white arrow. Next up is positioning the photo on the pull tab mechanism. It's best to show the whole arrow tab above the photo, so the receiver knows what to do. But when you do that, not the whole photo will be shown, and I definitely want the puddle to be at least partially seen. So I could have made my photo a little higher, but since I didn't, I'm going for putting the photo a little higher and the pull tab arrow less noticeable. I adhere the photo with score tape as well, so it sticks down really good. Next thing to do is adhering the background to the mechanism to a card base. I'm using tape runner at the bottom and my ATG gun on the sides and the small part at the top on the left and on the right. This way it won't get in the way of the mechanism. I noticed that I have a little bit of the card base sticking out, so I cut it off. Now it's time to adhere the camera. I use tin foam tape on the left and on the right of the camera to lift the camera off the card just a little. This way the photo has room to move. So I feed the photo through the slot and then position my camera and stick it down. The last step is to add all the images to the camera to create a scene. And with adhering down the last drops, my card is finished. The camera is so fun to give different themes to. I love how my rainy day camera turned out. Without the interactive part, this would be a great card too. But the mechanism isn't too hard to make, so it's super fun to make it into an interactive card like I did. Thank you for watching my video and joining the Lawn Fawn Fans Hop. Don't forget to leave a comment below and hop along to the next video you can find in the description for a chance to win a prize. I also hope I inspired you with my video and that you feel inspired to get crafty as well. If so, please consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel and ringing the bell to receive a notification when a new video is up. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye!